All right, everyone. Hello, hello. Happy February 21st and session 3 of Product University. Thank you so much for joining me today. I cannot believe how fast February has flown by. I can't believe it's going to be literally March next week. So thank you all for so much for sticking around and watching the last few weeks and for the weeks to come. We have so much in store, as you know. But today we are going into some fun and really important stuff to understand Riman. So for today's Product University, we are going through skin physiology and Riman. So we're going to break down the various different layers of the skin, some common skin issues, and then ingredients within Riman that can benefit your skin. And I want to preface all of this by saying that you don't need to keep all this into memory. You do not need to commit it to memory. I was a biochemist for many years, and then I read a cosmetic chemistry textbook for fun. So I know these things because it's part of my past and part of my future, but I hope that in kind of elucidating or illuminating some of these details, you can better understand that Riemann difference. So when we look at your skin, just overall at what your skin is your body's largest organ, and it works for a couple of reasons. Not only does it help you regulate temperature in the terms of, goosebumps, sweating, but it also allows you to actually protect yourself against irritant penetration and, of course, offers sensory perception with those nerve endings in the skin. It's made primarily of 3 layers, and these 3 layers have their own individual roles. So very simply, we have the epidermis as your top layer. That is the layer that experiences the outside world. And then our dermis is that second layer, and then the hypodermis is the third layer. And some studies actually do not consider the hypodermis a third layer of the skin. They just consider it a part of your body, but some places do. So in my studies, I understand it to be that third layer. So let's look first at the epidermis. So your epidermis is the thin layer of outer skin, and it's comprised of cells known as keratinocytes. So your keratinocytes are going to be kind of in this area here. And so these are just your skin cells, and these are freshly differentiated skin cells. And so what that means is that your body just freshly produced these, that the currently existing cells made new cells, and they began to multiply. So those are the basis of your skin structure. But we also have at this base layer here, melanocytes. And so melanocytes are these cell types that create melanin or pigment. And so this melanin is what allows us to have various skin tones and skin colors, but it also provides some UV protection within our skin. So we innately have some UV protection built in. However, the melanocytes are also the area in which excess melanin can occur. So we'll touch this a little bit more in depth later, but in terms of hyperpigmentation and dark spots, we are looking at the melanocytes and the melanogenesis pathway as things to essentially attack when we are wanting to target hyperpigmentation. So your stratum corneum is actually going to be this top layer up here. So within the epidermis, there are various sub-layers. I believe there's 7. And within each sub-layer, they have their own multitude of layers. It's a lot. But what's important to note is the stratum corneum up top. So when we started creating the keratinocytes at the bottom, these are healthy cells with nuclei. And as these cells go through your skin cell cycle, they begin to slowly differentiate, which just means that they slowly begin to kind of flatten. Some of them begin to lose their nuclei. And in doing so, they eventually come up to the top of the skin where they eventually slough off. And so that top layer of skin, that stratum corneum, is consistent of essentially nearly dead or dead skin cells and the surrounding lipid environment. And so this is actually known as the brick and mortar structure of the stratum corneum. So when we talk about the skin barrier, this is what we're talking about. Your skin barrier specifically is this top layer and the interaction between these skin cells and the surrounding lipid environment. And what do I mean by lipid? Lipid is essentially natural oils and ceramides that your body creates to help replenish the skin barrier, to keep it intact. So a healthy and functioning skin barrier is going to have tightly packed cells, skin cells, and then in any gaps between those skin cells, it's going to be tightly packed with lipids, with ceramides, and with free fatty acids. And so with a nicely packed barrier, that is where you are inhibiting irritants from penetrating, and also where you're inhibiting water from your skin from evaporating, leading to dryness. And again, We will touch on this a bit more when we go through common skin issues. But very basically, when you look at the epidermis, this is the area where a lot of hydration and moisturization occurs for a functioning skin barrier and for functioning skin layers. All right, then we have the dermis. The dermis is a chunky one. So the dermis is our middle layer of skin, and it contains so many important components to our skin's function. And it also provides nutrients to the to the epidermis, as well as a bit to the hypodermis. So within your dermis, not only do you have blood vessels, lymph vessels, even your hair follicles, but you also have fibroblasts, nerves, and sebaceous glands. And so really in terms of oil production in terms of sebum, it is coming from your dermis all the way up to the surface of your skin. Even more interestingly, and something that we will explore next week, is that the hair follicles that are situated inside your dermis are actually considered part of your epidermis. It's actually essentially an extension of the epidermal skin all the way down and surrounding the hair follicle, but it just exists within the dermis. So what's really important to understand about the dermis, yes, of course, the nerves, the blood vessels, all that stuff, is that it also contains your extracellular matrix. So the extracellular matrix is also known as the ECM, and it is a network of macromolecules and minerals, and these provide the structural support and vitality of your skin. So as you can see, it really contains collagen and elastin, both of which are really important, especially in anti-aging activity. It also contains your hyaluronic acid, which, as I'm sure y'all are familiar with, is that beautiful water-binding ingredient that brings hydration to the skin, but our skin actually makes it itself. So this is where your native hyaluronic acid exists. And then lastly, we have fibroblasts, and fibroblasts make collagen. So when we look at, providing collagen support or elasticity, we are looking at the extracellular matrix located within the dermis. And so as you can see on specifically this depiction here, this is really where you begin to see signs of aging with fine lines, with wrinkles, with sagging. It's specifically due to an effect in the extracellular matrix where you have lost either collagen, where you've lost elastin or hyaluronic acid, leading to dips, so to speak, in the upper layers of skin, in the epidermis and et cetera. And so that's where you're getting the aesthetic concerns of fine lines and wrinkles. So again, the dermis, the extracellular matrix, that is where your collagen and your elastin and your hyaluronic acid lives. And then lastly, and probably least importantly, is the hypodermis. So the hypodermis is just a fatty layer of cells. It cushions your muscles and bones while also supporting nerve and body vessels. It also regulates your body temperature, but it is very rare for personal care products to ever interact with the hypodermis. It's extremely low, and also it poses the concern of products becoming systemic if something were to reach all the way to your hypodermis. So typically, we do not treat the hypodermis in terms of topical skincare. But we have an extra layer, as I like to say. So of course, scientifically, you have three layers. It's going to be the epidermis, the dermis, and the hypodermis. But on top of the epidermis, we have our microbiome, which I've learned to understand as that extra layer. So your microbiome is a grouping of bacteria that naturally exist on our skin since birth. And it's kind of fascinating how this comes to cultivate on our skin. So it actually determinant how you were born. I don't want to get into too much detail, but if you were born natural way or through C-section, that actually can affect the microbiome that inhabits your body. But the skin itself is not typically a friendly place for bacteria to thrive, but there are key areas on our body that are perfect grounds for this bacteria. And what's important to note is this is good bacteria. This is beneficial for us. It actually helps us protect ourselves against invading pathogens. So in areas where you either have a bit more oil, the pH of your skin is a bit lower, or it's a bit more moist, this is where bacteria loves to grow. But it does not mean that on areas that are not oilier or moist, there's no bacteria. There is always bacteria on our skin, and it's for a good reason. So if your skin presents unfavorable conditions, certain pathogenic bacteria can actually prevail. So it's really interesting, the interaction between good bacteria, bad bacteria, and your skin. So if you have bad bacteria proliferating in which the good bacteria can't really maintain your skin health, you can see a variety of skin concerns occur. A perfect example of this is there was a study done showing that children with AD or atopic dermatitis, which is characterized by itching, thinning of the hair, as well as flaking or of the hair of the skin and flaking of the skin, actually had a higher concentration of a specific species of bacteria known as S. aureus. Similarly, in preteens, they typically have oilier skin due to hormones, and that oil is a perfect breeding ground for C. acnes, which is the bacteria species that causes acne. So really understanding the microbiome as an additional layer of your skin allows you to treat it correctly, either with fermented products or just with proper cleansing. So the microbiome is an important part of your skin as well. And another thing that's important to note is that your skin is different around your body. You have thicker skin on the palms of your hands, the soles of your feet, but then you also have thicker skin on your body in comparison to your facial skin. So body skin actually contains more layers of skin in that upper epidermis layer, that stratum corneum I showed you. So there's roughly 11 to 17 layers versus only 4 to 8 on your face. And because of this, it actually takes longer for cell turnover to occur. So traditionally, the entire cycle from the very baseline at the bottom where you made a fresh keratinocyte all the way to the top where you're sloughing off dead skin cells, that typically takes 4 weeks. But in terms of that top layer specifically, finally being able to slough off, that takes about a week itself for the face. But for your body, it takes roughly 2 weeks. And your body skin also has larger oil glands and pores. That is why some people with acne-prone skin do experience breakouts on their back and chest. And so this is just really important to know in regards to appreciating your body care products as well. Your skin might need a little bit more exfoliation on your body, might need a little bit more TLC, depending on how you are cleansing and how you're moisturizing your body skin. And then in terms of differences between skin, there are also various differences in terms of, female skin and male skin, and also in terms of light skin tones versus darker skin tones. But for the purpose of this presentation, I left those aside, but you're more than welcome to look a little bit more in detail about the different phenotypes and genotypes that come around in terms of skin type. All right, so we've understood the skin structure. Now we understand common skin issue terms. And I want to preface this by saying that there are so many different skin issues, and I've definitely not listed out the totality here. But I also want to be careful in addressing certain things that I deem to be more clinical. So things like acne, psoriasis, rosacea, those concerns are really, they have a variety of different causes. And I always think it's best to speak with a dermatologist or practicing physician to kind of understand what your skin needs. But for here, I took more general issues in terms of the skin and what they really mean for us. So the first three I've actually kind of grouped together. I find them to be all relevant to each other. And the first is going to be disrupted barrier. So when I showed you that brick and mortar structure in the beginning, your skin barrier, which is the tight packing of your skin cells, and the lipid environment or the oil-based environment, when this is not functional, irritants can penetrate, and then water from within your skin can actually evaporate out into the atmosphere. And so a disrupted barrier can either be lacking lipids, leading to gaps in the barrier, or the cells themselves can be lacking water, which also causes them to shrink, leading to gaps. So those are two potential ways your barrier can be disrupted. Of course, not also including irritants that are penetrating in and blocking the proper formation of a skin barrier. But in conjunction, I would say, is dryness and dehydration. So if your skin barrier is lacking those lipids and that lipid environment surrounding the cells, then you might experience dry skin. So dry skin really is characterized by lacking oil or moisture versus dehydration. That is when you're lacking water. So either your skin cells themselves do not have enough water or water has evaporated from the lower layers of skin. And that, of course, causes the typical aspects of dehydration: tight skin, skin that's flaky when you touch it, and it's generally less luminous. So these are three that I come across in terms of common skin issues. But then, of course, we have the ever-present concern of fine lines, wrinkles, and sagging. So when we talked about that extracellular matrix that's within the dermis, we are looking at the possible lacking of collagen, of elastin, or of hydration, which all can lead to a decrease in the structural integrity of your skin. So collagen is really the structural protein of your extracellular matrix. So this is allowing for firm support of your upper skin layers. And then elastin, think elasticity. This is what's giving your skin the ability to bounce back. So if you pinch your skin and it quickly bounces back, that's elasticity. And then, of course, lastly, hydration. Both collagen and elastin bind well to hyaluronic acid and to water within the dermis. So if there's an absence of collagen, there's likely going to be an absence of water binding. Of course, also with acknowledging the potential for the evaporation of water from a disrupted barrier. That's a separate issue, as we've mentioned. And then lastly, and I think really importantly to talk about in understanding some of the ingredients I'm about to touch on, is oxidation. So we always talk about antioxidants. As I'm sure you all know, Giant Byung Pool is a wonderful antioxidant. But what is oxidation? What does that even mean? So oxidation occurs for a variety of different reasons. Probably the most common is overexposure to UV rays or other damaging environmental characters such as pollution or smoke, etc. So what oxidation is essentially oxidative species are created in your skin because of the exposure to these various elements. And these oxidative species are lacking electrons. This makes them highly reactive and highly reactive with your surrounding molecular environment. They want to steal electrons and they're going to steal it from your skin, your skin cells, etc. So when they steal these electrons, it can hinder a variety of different healthy skin processes. For example, the overpresence of oxidation and oxidative species in the skin can actually cause hyperpigmentation in the skin because it actually interacts with your melanocytes and the melanogenesis pathway. It also can cause photoaging, which is the concept of UV rays actually aging your skin because it breaks down certain pathways that produce collagen. So oxidation and antioxidant care is extremely important just overall in a way to keep your skin healthy. So in understanding your skin now, in understanding common skin issues, let's see how Riman is involved in that. And of course, to firstly understand Riman skincare, we have to look at those three main tenets of K-beauty, which I'm sure y'all are familiar with now. But to just remind y'all, it's going to be cleansing, hydrating, and protecting. So regardless of what product you are using in the Riman Insulderm line, you are satisfying at least one of these tenets and you are really helping yourself towards a better form of self-care. So with cleansing, we are removing those surface impurities from the epidermis, so from that top layer of skin, as well as dead skin cells to lessen the chance of common skin issues occurring, like acne due to blockages in your pores, or like flaky skin due to poor sloughing off of your dead skin cells. This also allows for prep of the skin for later treatment because that cleansing experience, and especially the use of surfactants, which are those cleansing molecules, opens up your pores. And so those are going to be more readily available to accept all those good ingredients. Next, of course, is hydrate. So hydrating is just reinforcing the health and general function of both your dermal and your epidermal layers for calm, supported, and glowy skin. So very basically, hydration is bringing back water to all layers of the skin for that more youthful glow. But I also consider moisturization in this category. So it's bringing back the oils to the skin. That's reinforcing the skin barrier and overall giving you that kind of radiant luminosity that comes with a proper oil balance in the skin. And then last but not least, we have protect. So protect, most simplistically, is to limit the effects of the external aggressors, such as UV rays, pollution, and irritants by reinforcing either your skin's barrier itself or by applying a protective film, such as with the use of a sunscreen. So this one's really important, especially in concepts of oxidation that we talked about. Why even address oxidative species in your skin if you stop them from ever even occurring? So really important to protect your skin, to have a well-rounded skincare routine. All right, so skin and Riman. How is Riman and what Riman ingredients are doing for the common issues of your skin, for the general skin health? And I want to mention that the following couple of ingredients I've identified are not an exhaustive list of all the fantastic ingredients in the formulas that we provide here at Riman. So if you are curious about the other ingredients, especially the hero ingredients, if you go to Riman.com and then click the Explore Riman tab, and then click Explore and then Ingredients, we have a whole ingredient glossary for you to go through. So this ingredient glossary will highlight key actives in various product forms that allow or really encompass some function for your skin. But for here, just for, not to inundate you with every other ingredient we have in 20 some products, I just focused on a couple few that are really heavy workers in terms of specific skin issues. So when I would say the first common issue we looked at in terms of the skin barrier, we want to essentially replenish the skin barrier to help it function again, to help us protect ourselves from outside irritants, from water loss, and also just to maintain a balance throughout the skin. So to restore the skin barrier, you often need either to provide lipids to fill in the surrounding environment or provide water for your cells overall to really help that healthy packing of the epidermis. And so some ingredients that I mentioned here is giant byungpool, ceramides, and natural oils. So giant byungpool has that beautiful ability to hydrate the skin. Ecoceramides or ceramides. Ceramides are actually naturally a component of your lipid environment in your skin. So to supplement with ceramides is really just to replenish the ceramides that naturally existed in your skin. And then, of course, specific natural oils are able to help support your lipid environment of your skin as well. So really, when you're restoring the skin barrier, you want to look at both hydration and moisturization aspects. All right, so that next skin issue was dehydration. So of course we have to look at things that are hydrating. So the ingredients here all have some form of intense hydration for the skin. So again, that Byungpool leaf water, especially with the Jeju Lava energy water in there, which we know has tested benefits for skin hydration. But of course we have more common industry standards like humectants. So humectants are hygroscopic structures that actually attract water to the skin and actually also distribute it throughout the various layers of skin. So probably the most common humectant in the industry is glycerin. So glycerin is a beautiful humectant to use. It has so many different benefits in regards to just formulation stability, but also, of course, to bringing hydration to the skin. But then we also, proprietary to Riman, have our 8-layer hyaluronic acid. Hyaluronic acid, again, is fantastic at binding with water and attracting water. So that's just going to bring water back to the dermal layers. We have our damask rose water, which is in our Calm & Balance gel, and that's going to bring not only hydration, but also a little bit of pH and calming sensation to the skin. And then, of course, in the body care products, we have Hyaloo Collagen 3, which is that complex between hyaluronic acid and collagen, both of which love water. So this complex itself attracts a huge amount of atmospheric water to the skin, whether you are using body wash or you've already stepped out of the shower and you're using the moisturizer. This is just an intense way to hydrate. All right, so reducing hyperpigmentation and brightening. So to reduce hyperpigmentation and to overall brighten the skin, of course, we have to look towards the melanocytes. We have to look towards the melanin content in our skin, of course, with reason. We're not trying to adjust someone's natural skin tone, just adjust the dark spots or the culmination of a tone difference. So in this, we're really trying to look at actives that bring brightness to the skin. So we have various things that are proprietary to Riman, like Vita Complex and RK Snowflake, both of which are exclusive to the Radiance line. And what's important to note, rather, is that we also have the liposomal delivery method. So this allows for the enhanced absorption of these ingredients into the skin to reach the melanocytes at the bottom of the epidermis. Then we also have an industry standard, which is niacinamide. So niacinamide is such a beautiful ingredient. It's so friendly to many different skin types, to so many different things, but is well known as a brightening agent. So niacinamide is present in quite a few of our formulas across the entire Dermatology EX line and some of the accessory products as well, like the Biotin Oil Mist. Of course, again, we have Byungpool. Gotta love that brightening study that we were doing with the University of Seoul. And then lastly, we have sea berry water. So sea berry water is in the Biotin Oil Mist and the Biotin Multi-Stick Balm, and it has high concentrations of vitamin C and E, both of which are known to be powerful antioxidants and to bring brightness to the skin as well. And then last but not least, replenishing the extracellular matrix, that matrix of collagen, elastin, hyaluronic acid, all the stuff that we need to support our skin. So really, we're looking at anything that either brings back hydration or somehow helps the structural integrity of our skin. So firstly, we have Collageneer. So this is also exclusive to the Radiance M100 line, and this is just for radiant elasticity, as we like to say. Then we also have peptides. So I know a lot of people look for key ingredients that they understand before they joined Riman. They're like, where are the peptides? Where are the vitamins? They're there, I promise you. And so we have acetyl hexapeptide 8 and palmitoyl pentapeptide 4, both of which are beautiful in terms of just kind of replenishing the skin and replenishing the skin's strength. And these are exclusive in the Active Cream EX. Of course, in the Active Cream EX, we also have our NBP complex and the EasyCom 6 complex. Both of these are botanical complexes exclusive to Riman that maintain elasticity as well as moisturization. So again, this is not an exhaustive list by any means. There are so many other good ingredients that I know you all know from the various products, but I just wanted to highlight, in terms of certain common issues in the skin where various ingredients can apply. So because today was so dense, I have a recap. So just to recap, 3 layers of the skin. We have our epidermis, the dermis, and the hypodermis. The upper layers of your dermis specifically, or excuse me, of your epidermis displays a brick and mortar structure. And so this essentially is known as your skin barrier, in which you have a tight packing of skin cells surrounded by a lipid environment that inhibits irritants from penetrating and water from evaporating. Then if we look at your your dermis as well, we have the extracellular matrix, or the ECM, which houses your elastin, your collagen, and your hyaluronic acid, key players in perceived skin age. And then, of course, the very surface of your skin on top of the epidermis is your microbiome, that compilation of beneficial flora and bacteria that maintain your skin's health and also protect against irritant invasion. As for the common skin issues we addressed, disrupted barrier, dryness, dehydration, and fine lines, wrinkles, or sagging, they all can be sourced to a specific area of your skin. So with disrupted barrier, we are looking at that epidermis, specifically the top layer of your epidermis, in which you're either lacking oils or water and irritants are able to penetrate. In dryness, your skin is simply lacking oil, and in dehydration, it is lacking water. And then with fine lines, wrinkles, and sagging, we look towards the dermis, towards the ECM, in which your skin is lacking some form of structural support. So with our prioritization of those 3 key tenets of K-beauty, of cleansing, of hydrating, and of protecting, we look to source the most efficacious ingredients to benefit the overall health of your skin, such that your skincare isn't about putting band-aids on issues. It's more so about revitalizing the base, the root of your skin health, such that those issues don't even arise. So throughout the Riman skincare products, we either have proprietary ingredients like Giant Beyond Cool or Jeju Lava Energy Water, or various other patented ingredients, or even industry well-known ingredients that we know perform to just really help you bring back that more youthful glow to the surface of your skin. All right, so thank you so much, y'all, for listening about skin physiology and Riman. Of course, here is the outline of what we went over. So I hope you didn't try to commit anything to memory, because we have it typed out here for you. I believe we're also dropping the link in the chat for you to access. And one important thing I wanted to mention is that all of these assets, both the PowerPoints, the recordings, and these various worksheets will become available after the 8 sessions have been completed, just to really pay respect to you all attending every single session. So if you are missing a link to something and you did attend, feel free to reach out to rituals@riman.com, or at riman.com, and we'll provide you with the link. But otherwise, all of this stuff will be available to everyone after the 8 sessions have completed. So what's next week? Next week is hair physiology in Riman. So probably will be as in depth. I hope you're ready, but it's just so interesting the way that our hair follicles and our hair health are really determined by various different processes, and also how your scalp is really just an extension of your facial skin and also needs some TLC every now and then. So I hope to see you all next week. And then, of course, just a reminder that Q&A session is coming up March 13th. I believe that's session 7 or session 6. But please keep sending your questions to ritual@riman.com by March 1st. I'm already getting a couple of questions, so I can't wait to see all the questions that come up and have that wonderful discussion during that session. All right, y'all, that is the end of Product University for today. Thank you so much for listening to me talk about skin for 30 minutes. I love talking about it. I hope it really kind of illuminated something for you in terms of what Riman is doing for your skin. And I'm seeing all the love in the chat, so thank you. It makes me emotional. But thank you guys so much for joining. I will talk to you all next Wednesday. See you then.